You have a quorum.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. Good to see everybody. Hope y'all are staying cool and taking care. We'll go ahead and take the roll.
Hey, Mr. Brennan.
Present.
Mr. Burgess.
Present.
Ms. Bleaton.
Present.
Ms. Herbert. Representative Howard. Mr. Lawson. Ms. Mood. Dr. Morris.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
I'm here.
Ms. Tracio.
Here.
Councilman Walker. I'll call the advisory board members. Mr. Payne. Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Coon. Ms. Robinson. Ms. Summers. Mr. Unthank, and Mayor Walker. You do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. Excuse me. That'll bring us to number 2, adoption of the agenda. I understand that there is a request for a modification.
Yes, I'd like to move the executive session up to number 2 and the information for Route 47.
Okay.
Now I make the motion on both.
Okay. Could that be called number 3 since we're on number 2 now? And then move number 3 down, move number 3 and the rest down?
Right.
Okay. Great. It's been moved and properly seconded to move, to adopt the agenda with the change of moving executive session to the number 3 spot. Any discussion or any further requests for modification?
And well, 47, the motion for installing Route 47 should be, well, 3A.
3, okay. I'm sorry, say that one more time.
The motion, I'll make the motion to reinstall Route 47, and that can be 3A.
Okay, under the executive session or?
No, after, just on the agenda.
Oh, okay, I see. But those are those are not related items, are they?
No,
No.
there's 2 movements, to move executive,
Motion. So let's take them one at a time.
executive session.
Let's do
first.
executive session first and then, well, actually, we need to make the agenda whole. You're right. So maybe we could make the
Route
other,
47.
the route motion number 4. So number 3 would be executive session, number 4 would be the route change. Okay, and then everything moves down. Dr. Morris, since you were the seconder, okay, thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Did everybody hear what we're looking to do with the agenda? Any questions? Okay, anything from staff? For the agenda? Okay, we will vote on adopting the agenda as proposed to be amended.
Okay, Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
Mr. Burgess.
Yes,
Ms. Bleaton.
Yes.
Ms. Herbert. Representative Howard. Mr. Lawson. Ms. Mood. Dr. Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Tracio.
Yes.
Councilman Walker. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So that will bring us to the new item 3, which is executive session.
I'm going to go into executive session.
Okay. Is that a second?
Dr.
Dr. Morris? Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and properly seconded for us to go into executive session. This is a discussion pursuant to section 30-4-70A5, which is a discussion of matters related to the proposed location expansion or the provision of services, encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body. We'll take a vote to go into executive session.
Madam Chair, before you do that, could Mrs. Bow remain and ask you also, Mr. DeChamp?
Thanks. Ms. Minor Reed, let us know when it's okay to start. Okay.
Hello, are you back in regular session?
I
Hello?
think they're still migrating over.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Can y'all hear us?
Yes, we
I can hear
can.
you.
Just talking, I'm so sorry. There was a motion made by Mr. Burgess to come out of executive session. And it was seconded by Councilman Walker. Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert,
Abstaining.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Mood, Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Tracio,
Yes.
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Is there a motion? Do we have a motion?
Yes. I'd like to move that we engage the city attorney for negotiations with the three mentioned companies about a sale price.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, we can take a vote.
Okay, Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert.
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Ms. Moon, Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tracio,
Yes,
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay.
thank you so much. That will bring us to item 4 on our agenda. Mr. Burgess,
Route 47 that runs in the lower Richmond area.
Second.
okay. 47, you said. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on this item? Okay. Does this one need to go back through committee? No. Okay. So we're just voting directly on the item today. Okay, great.
All right,
Yes, Mr. Lawson has his hand up.
Hey, I just had a quick question. Did maybe I missed the last meeting, but did committee present anything about Route 47?
Okay, do we have any,
A motion was made
Statements
in
from
the
the committee.
committee to send it to the board. So everything was done properly.
okay. Yes, so this came from the service committee back to us. Thank you.
With a recommendation for approval.
With a recommendation for approval. Yes. Okay, Mr. Green.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I was just curious, I'm not familiar with what the ridership on that route is. Can the staff tell us the ridership for the last year?
This was a route that was eliminated for dubious reasons. I think it was to move a bus, needed a bus somewhere else. But this is one that's given us a lot of grief in the area about the transportation situation. So we are reestablishing that route, and we'll, as usual, we'll monitor ridership on all the routes.
Yes, thank you for that. But I was asking staff if they had what the ridership was when the route was running.
You want to say it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have information regarding this, the route. Currently, the route is moving, at efficiency, per 5 passengers per hour, but it was, doing much better when it was in full service as a regular fixed route. Current ridership, is around 5,000 passengers as of calendar year 2022, the year end. In 2021, it was somewhere between, was around 7,000 passengers that were carried. In 2020, which was actually the pandemic year, the start of it was right around 5,000. So we're pretty much doing the same number. Well, we're doing the same numbers in 2020 that we were doing in 2022. But the 2019, prior to the pandemic, we were somewhere around 23,000 passengers. So that's a drastic decrease in service.
I see. And what is the cost to run the route per year?
We don't, I don't have the answer to that question right now.
Okay, well, if you can get it for me, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Those
Ms. Sweet.
people ride that bus coming in to Columbia to work and stuff, am I correct?
Absolutely.
Well, we need to provide the services out there for the people. That's why we're a bus service. If we can't provide service out there for the people, we just need to shut it down. All right, I love riding the bus. I see people all the time. And people are saying, are we gonna keep the bus out here? I said, we trying, baby. Get you a job, we got it. Hey, we need you to work so we can keep getting our checks.
Yeah.
Mr. Green, does that conclude your question?
Now, it's a motion on the floor that's been
Yes.
seconded.
Yes.
Sorry,
Um,
yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and so my question just would be around, so we obviously have that drop off with 2020 associated with the pandemic. When and if we reestablish this route, how can we make sure that everybody knows that it's back? I mean, will there be an effort made to re-educate folks in that area? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we do have plans to do public outreach in that area to let them know that the route is coming back and to also get feedback from the public.
Good.
You know, just in case there's some things we might need to tighten up before we bring it back on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Excuse me,
And yes.
Pam, I have a question. When y'all do that feedback, hit some of the churches and things around in the areas.
Yeah, that's what we did. We did that.
Okay, that's a good.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on this item? Okay, I think we're ready to take a vote. Oh, wait, Mr. Green, is your hand up for something else or was it just up from before? I think it's just something. Okay, great. I think we're ready to take a vote.
Okay, Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Ms. Leeton,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert,
Aye.
Representative Howard,
Yes. On my last.
Mr. Lawson,
Abstain.
Ms. Mood, Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tracia,
Yes,
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you for your work on this item. That will bring us to number 5. Sorry if I'm gonna have to readjust as I go with numbers. Mr. Durst, thank you for being patient and sticking with us through this meeting. Do you have an update for us?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair.
First of all, I want to apologize to the board that I wasn't here last month due to a scheduling problem. And I didn't expect you guys to be done within 30 minutes, so came around about 12:30 and found y'all were already gone. I've been hearing some really good things about the soda cap, especially in route number 2, which is 5 Points. We're getting a lot of good feedback about the changes going through the historical district and the like, so appreciate that. And then a couple of weeks ago, when there was a shooting on Greystone and Stone Ridge, you'll recall that, where the deputies and the highway patrol cut off access to Greystone and Stone Ridge. And didn't see anything on social media about detours during that time. And I don't know whether COMET did that or not, but I would just ask that if there is a major disruption like that, that goes on for several hours, that it be publicized on social media and even in the local media as well. That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you. That will bring us to item 6, call to the public. Do we have anyone signed up?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. That'll bring us to number 7, our consent calendar. You can find, so 7A would be approval of the June 28th, 2023 board minutes. Those are on pages 3 through 7. 7B is submission of the invoice check registers on pages 8 through 27. Yes, okay. Is there a motion for the consent items? Thank you. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
I just have a quick question, Ms. Andrew. Going over this, and I look at the rented cars. How many cars do we have rented cars?
So are you talking about on the enterprise or the cars that staff? We don't rent any cars. The cars we have that staff drive, we purchase them. So if you want to point me to where you're talking to, so I make sure we're on the same
On
page.
page 13, and you don't have to do it now, you can do it in finance. It says something about rented cars, and I was just wondering why we paying quite a bit when we own cars.
Page 13.
Look at the top there, where it said $5,000, total down there is 10 by Dick Smith. Ford.
So that's for an engine, it's not for a rented car.
Oh, okay, all right, not for rented cars.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this one? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the vote on our consent items.
All right, Mr. Brennan. Oh, okay, Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Ms. Gleason,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tracio,
Yes,
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. That'll bring us to item 8, our discussion and action items. We will start with the low, no emission bus project update. Mr. Deschamps?
Thank you, and hello to the rest of the board. As you know, one of the other projects that staff is managing is the low, no emission bus project. And that project is being managed by the Center of Transportation and the Environment out of Atlanta. And they've been leading us through that process, along with all the other vendors that are working on this project. And just based on where we are in the project, I wanted to have the opportunity for them to come and update the board on where we are on the project and kind of where we are on the timeline. We're still on schedule, and there's a lot that has been done weekly, but also too, there's a lot that we have to do. And we just want to thank, we refer to them as CTE. We want to thank them for their managing of the project. And on virtually, we have Mr. Jason Hanley, which will, he's on, and he will be giving the board the update on the project today. And Jason.
Thank you all. I'm actually going to let Chase Stell, the project manager that's working on and leading this project, give a quick update. But we'll be around for any questions.
All right. Hello, everybody. We can make this quick. I know Jason and I were in Columbia and gave a similar update last year, so this will be similar. A little bit of background about the project and kind of where we are now. So for just as a refresher here, just a overview of the project. It is to deploy 2 New Flyer battery electric buses and 2 New Flyer fuel cell buses, along with the charging equipment and the hydrogen refueling infrastructure. And the project is being funded through the Federal Transit Administration's Lower No Emission Grant Program. And this particular grant was awarded in June of 2021. And these 4 buses will replace 4 of the 2016 Starcraft All-Star Cutaway buses when they're at the end of their useful life this year in 2023. And these are just 2 example pictures of the New Flyer buses here. We have the fuel cell on the left and the battery electric on the right. And here is a general overview of the project timeline. As you see here with this red line, right in the middle of 2023 is where we are now. And I'll talk about this requirements analysis phase in just a minute. And as you see here on the bus procurement and build stage, we still are on schedule for the buses to be completed and delivered on site to the COMET at the end of this calendar year. We're still on schedule. The first bus of the 4 is actually entering the production line the last day of this month in July. And a few updates since we spoke last time. We did select the site of the hydrogen station, which you'll see on this Google Earth image, which is in this north lot of the COMET facility here. This is where the refueling will take place for the hydrogen fuel cell buses. And then the single charger and 2 dispensers will be installed here at the west side of the main COMET building here, adjacent to the maintenance bay. And another item that CT that we've done over the past several months is we concluded our route and rate modeling. And just a quick background of what that means. So for the route modeling, CT was on site last year, and we rode around several of the COMET routes, which we used that data to conduct our route modeling. And the modeling is critical for zero emission bus deployments because of the range of these vehicles, specifically the battery electric vehicles can be highly dependent on the route, length, traffic, weather conditions, and passenger loads, and all sorts of different scenarios. So we model the routes so that we can present which routes are best suited for these buses. Then we also gathered utility rates from the COMET and also used specifications from the New Flyer buses, as well as the Fluidtron hydrogen equipment to conduct rate modeling for the buses. And the purpose of the rate modeling is to predict fueling costs, and also to develop charging and refueling schedules for the COMET, since refueling the battery electric buses does take more time than a traditional diesel bus. And we presented all of these results to the COMET over the past month, and a few very high level results that we found. One being we suggest prioritizing the fuel cell buses on the blocks that are over 13 hours in duration. It is important to consider relief vehicles for shorter lines for the battery electric buses because they can go a shorter distance than the fuel cell buses. And related to costs, the battery electric buses are approximately 34 cents per mile, and the fuel cell buses cost approximately $1.13 per mile. And here's just a graphic on the left of all of the COMET's routes and which ones are achievable by specifically the fuel cell bus. So as you can see here, every single route is achievable by the fuel cell bus with the exception of just one. And moving on to the next steps, what we're going to be focusing on over the next couple months. As I mentioned before, the buses are beginning construction at New Flyer's Anniston facility in Alabama at the end of this month, and will make their way down the production line. And they are on schedule to be delivered towards the end of November and December of this year. On the infrastructure side, we are working to complete site drawings, and then we will submit permit requests to the City of Columbia. Project partners Lindy and Fluitron will deliver the equipment for the hydrogen station installation. MSI Construction will construct the hydrogen station as well as install the charger. And then lastly, after the station is ready to go and the buses are here, they will be deployed towards the beginning of 2024. And that is all. Jason and I here welcome any questions that the board members may have.
Thank you. I see a hand already from Mr. Lawson.
Yes. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So I just had a quick question. I was recently doing a little research and reading some stuff, and I'm not sure if this is applicable, but if it is, I'm sure you're the man to answer the question. So the electric buses that, you know, we're anticipating implementing into our fleet, will adverse temperature, so will extremely high temperatures on the high end or on the low end affect the battery life and the drivability of the bus at all?
This is Jason. It will not affect the drivability of the bus. What it will do is increase the energy consumption on the bus, and pretty significantly. So that's why it was important to evaluate that for the area for Columbia. And actually, believe it or not, really cold temperatures are even worse for basically draining the batteries and energy consumption. And what that ultimately does is reduce range of the buses. So just like passenger vehicles, you really have to pay attention to that, especially for fleets, transit fleets, and agencies that operations depend on it. You really want to make sure that when you're dispatching those, that you pay attention to it. But the batteries are controlled so that they do manage within certain state of charge ranges to make sure that they do, the life of the batteries is not affected. And they are cooled, so they are actively cooled.
I'm just curious to know, do we have a maybe a forecasting model? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, Columbia hits 20 degrees, and now we know exactly the life of the battery, the energy consumption, and then ultimately the fees that are associated with that energy consumption. Do we have that type of model?
Yeah, that is in fact one of those are the factors that we built into the model that Chase described. We actually started this model 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or sorry, 15 years ago, and using this model. And so it's pretty sophisticated. We have all of the buses actually modeled, all bus manufacturers modeled, all the way down to the component level. And that's why when we collected data on the route, and then we actually build in the temperature ranges for the specific site wherever we're deploying the buses, and actually take those factors into account. So the answer is yes. And that is a part of the results and described in the results that we presented to the COMET, and is in that report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you for that presentation and thank you for that update. Does this conclude your update?
It does. Thank you so much for having us and great questions.
Okay, so that will bring us to the on-time performance update. Mr. Buckley?
Yes, good afternoon. Just a quick update on a few items. During the reporting period, we did have one employee that reported to have COVID-19. However, that person has recovered and in good shape. So I know we still keep an eye on that. So I also want to recognize Moses Taylor and Marshall Hamill as for their excellent work for employees of the quarter and month. Taylor, 43 years worth of experience, and Mr. Gamble, 22 years. So they're excited. Those senior guys continuing to do great work for us. Also want to report as far as our DART on-time performance, we saw a slight increase versus the previous month. For our fixed route, we did have during the month of June, we had 10 days where we hit 79%. In 6 of those days, we were at 80 or better. So we saw some good numbers there, even though we landed about flat for the month. So that concludes my report. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you for that report. Anything from the board? Okay. Seeing none, that'll bring us to our Lucius and River update. We have Mr. Harris here. Person?
Yes, so we did have a very productive meeting with the Earlwood Neighborhood Association. We did have Councilwoman Herbert there as well, and Pam, and we were able to answer a lot of their questions. We received positive feedback. They are excited to know that a bus is closer to them, and they can just bike down the street and be able to get to and from various locations, but they're also really interested in that COMET loop that we discussed in the presentation as well. They feel like it's the most efficient thing in some of the key areas that they would like to arrive to. That route currently, well, as proposed, it would be serving those locations. As far as construction goes, we are still moving forward. As of today, we still anticipate the construction to be completed by the end of August. But again, the service implementation date is as of, it will be in January of this year, next year. But I'm open to answer any questions that you may have regarding Lucius and River.
Okay. Anything? Yes, Dr. Morris.
Mr. Harris, I noticed that they are pouring concrete out there. And I'm sort of skeptical about when you replacing concrete. We have any warranty on if it cracks, whether we can hold them responsible for a period of time?
That is correct. So because we are currently up on an agreement with them, it's no additional cost to us. They're fixing something that they made a mistake with the construction. And that's the reason why, again, we're moving towards January opposed to a quick turnaround for September. We want to make sure there's a QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control process in place to make sure that it's safe for our passengers to be able to board and the like. So, but the short question about the financial piece is already embedded into the total cost of the project.
Do you know how long is the warranty? Oh,
I think it's a year after the project is complete.
thank you.
And just one additional thing, the restrooms, we have been in communication trying to get the restrooms installed at the site. It will have to go out for RFP. So we are starting discussions around that. And once we finish off with the procurement process, then we will be able to give a definitive timeline for when the restrooms will be installed.
Okay. I see Ms. Herbert's hand.
Yes, I just wanted to commend staff on the presentation that they gave. It was, I thought, thorough, but still succinct. And I felt like the individuals there, the Earlwood folks, understood the information and asked pretty good questions. And there wasn't a lot of meetings after the meeting. So I just want to commend the staff on the presentation that they did give.
Thank you. If I could just ask, what was the attendance like? About approximately how many folks?
I would say around 20.
I thought it was more than that. I thought
Yeah.
it was like 30, 40.
It may have been.
Okay.
I was trying to be modest about it, but yeah, it was a good size. I was actually surprised for a neighborhood meeting, and they seemed to be really interactive when we were talking about just the services that we were providing and just moving into phase 2, phase 3, different of the project. They seem to want us to come back again. So it was a good audience. Good audience.
Good to hear. Great. Anything further on Lucius and River? Okay, that'll bring us to the service to Lower Richland / Eastover, Route 47. We covered that. And so there's nothing else there. Okay, that'll bring us to number 9, which would be the motion periods. Have we covered all the motions that were? I don't think we have anything new. Ms. Herbert, is your hand up from before?
I thought I put it down. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay. I just like to check in. I don't want anybody to get skipped over. Okay, so that'll bring us to number 10, progress reports. The first is the chair report. I don't have anything new for the body. I'm hoping that I'll have something exciting to bring maybe in August for you. Committee chairs update. Ms. Mood is out. Is there anybody else from service that has any updates for us? Okay, I think we're good there. Finance committee, Dr. Morris, do you have anything?
We just have 2 pieces. We're still looking at the blue bike. And Ms. Andrews is gonna come back to us with some more information about the blue bikes. So hopefully our next meeting, we can give a full report on that. Another one was we had some concerns about firms who are giving us a generic report, the same thing every month. And we were told by Ms. Andrews that if they don't give us a detailed report, we will be holding their pay.
Thank you for that. Any questions or anything for anything further on that? Okay. That'll bring us to C, our ad hoc committee for ED search updates. My chair and chair of that committee, Mr. Walker.
Well, we're making progress.
Yeah.
So we have been informed that I think there are 8 potential candidates for the vacant ED position. We have an ad hoc committee meeting scheduled for August 10th and from 12 until 2. And that meeting will take place, well, majority of the meeting will take place in executive session since it will pertain to a personnel matter. And so I would just encourage all members, of the board to attend that meeting to just get information or any input that they wish to offer as we discuss the 8 candidates.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. I thought I had a sneeze there. Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry, when was that meeting and can that be sent out to us?
Yes. Is it on our calendar?
It will be.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's August the
Yes.
10th
12 to
from 12 to 2.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. You're welcome. That'll bring us to our executive staff updates. Mr. Deschamps, do you have anything more for us?
Sure.
Okay.
Find my report on starting on page 93. Just a couple of things I'll mention and also some updates on staff. With us ending our fiscal year, we, along with the directors, we were able to complete all annual performance reviews, and those were discussed with employees, and we were able to process their increases, which was effective July 1. So it's always a goal we set out to achieve each year. And also it gives us an opportunity to sit down and have discussions with each individual employee. So that was done and it's completed. And I think it's probably the first year we hit the target. Right. So I thank again staff for all they do, which will lead into some other things I want to mention, but other things that we discussed, there's listed in the report. Again, a big focus of ours with all the challenges that we face and the projects that we have going on and the magnitude of them is having the right staff to achieve those. And I always like to give our staff recognition because the challenges that we face, it constantly keeps you to push yourself to be up to date in what's going on in the transit industry. And I think we do a good job of that, of forcing yourself to attend conferences and trainings. And we've tried to focus or keep our focus on that to achieve those goals. And I'd like to just recognize Crystal Willis in our finance department. She just completed the Westgate Leadership Training Program. It's the 8-week training program, and they focus on transit and paratransit. So she completed the course and she got her certification. So we want to congratulate Crystal Willis on that achievement. Also, we'd like to recognize Margaret Woodson. You know, Margaret joined us, I guess, 2-3 months ago as our compliance and procurement and compliance manager. Margaret attended procurement training through the National Transit Institute. So I think that was part 1. So she attended that and she will be attending part 2 of that program. So again, congratulations, Margaret, to come in and fit into the group, but also bring value. So we appreciate that. So she's attending the training that she needs to. Also to Michelle Ransom, she attended the bus conference on clean fuel. So she was able to attend that conference at the end of June. Again, that goes right into what we're doing with our low no emissions program. So we're trying to stay up to date on that. Also, myself, along with Ms. Andrews and Ms. Bino Reed, we had the opportunity to attend the conference on minority transit officials. I think it's about 2 weeks ago out west, and I don't know whether I've gotten over the difference in time yet or not, but we were able to attend that. But it gives us the opportunity to engage with other professionals, but also at the time to discuss other agencies, the challenges that they face and things that they're doing that we can pick up on. One session I really enjoyed was a session with other CEOs and to listen at what they're doing, the vision that they have, but also the challenges that they face, and just the similarities. It gives you a good opportunity to listen to them, and also it gives us an opportunity to come back and share with our staff some of the things that we picked up, but also some of the things that we need to do, and also too, it shows us again. I keep saying that on an agency our size, we really do a lot, and we're involved in a lot, and I think we are able to do that because our staff is open to learn and get other skills, but also just open to change. And just kind of like where we're going here in the future, a big conference that will be happening in October. I think it's October 8th through the 11th, the American Public Transportation Association. That's a huge conference. And currently all of our directors are scheduled to attend that conference. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida. It does pose a problem with our committee meetings on the 11th, but we will be available virtually to participate in those. But I think it's important that our directors are able to attend that conference just from the magnitude of what it represents, but it keeps us in the know as far as what's going on in the future. Also too, if any board members is interested in attending that conference, to let myself, Ms. Andrews, or Ms. Bino Reed know, and we can work with travel plans for you there. But again, like I said, my focus is always, one of my main focus is always on staff, because I think they give and they're open and they share. And it's not sometimes we wait till we get back from a conference to share what we've learned or what we picked up. Sometimes it's instant when they're sitting in a session, they're able to communicate that back immediately. So again, thanks a lot to them for all they do. And that's the end of my report.
All right.
Madam Chair,
I think you spoke first, Mr. Burgess.
this question is for payroll. For some reason, we keep getting confused on procedures. The county things originate in committee, then it goes to council. Here it originates at the board and it goes to committee. I want to ask Mr.
Well, we have a couple of different ways. One is a motion that goes to full council, and then our chair will refer it to a committee. That's generally how it happens. And we also have, on our council, relatively new, what's it called? The administrators
Report. Right, so the administrator, as part of his report, will present certain items, not for us to act on it as a council, but just for information. But under the rules, Mr. Vice Chair, a council member could make a motion off of, maybe an item that was presented by the administrator, for instance.
But my statement was about committees. Nothing should be in the committee that hadn't been to the board.
I think that, Ms. Baker, is that how we need to operate? That we should have a motion that comes through the board, and then if it needs to get referred to a.
Don't get me wrong.
Oh.
I'm not saying motion.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. The last service standards meeting, I heard a request from Rapdale to change something that hadn't been at the board. And the first thing that hit my mind was, if Rapdale, our contractor, had any request for anything, it should flow through our ED. Not for the ED to make a decision, to meet ED to come to the board with. Now, if that had followed procedures, Rapdale would have known that that request that was being asked was illegal. Because what we were doing was by government regulation that we couldn't change. See, now if that had come to the board, I'm quite sure some board member would have challenged that right off the bat and corrected it.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may. And so, Mr. Fergus, just to kind of give you an idea of how something like that would have been handled at county council, and I don't want to, suggest that we ought to do things here the way we do it at county council. Obviously, the COMET is a separate governing entity, but sometimes we look at other entities to kind of get a sense of what can be instructive. So an issue like that probably would have come to the full board through the administrator's report, for instance, or the full council through the administrator's report for an update, and then council can act on it. And then there are times where, or oftentimes rather, we use the committees as sort of the place where we vet a lot of major items. So that way, by the time it gets for the full board or the full council, for county council, it makes everybody's life a lot easier. You know that it's been vetted already. You can still ask questions, but you don't want to have a full council meeting that becomes the equivalent of a committee meeting, if that makes sense. And so there are a number of ways to do it. I think it's just a matter of preference. It depends on the issue. Not every item that comes before full council comes through a committee. And then we have some council members, who take issue of something doesn't come through the committee. They rather get vetted there first. You do the due diligence at the committee level. So by the time it gets to full council, for the most part, you're prepared to vote outside of those members who may just have some additional questions, about the item. Does that kind of answers your question? Does that help a little bit?
No,
It does, okay, all right, well, just,
No, but I'm thinking that we probably our own worst enemy on that. Because if nothing was sent from the board to the committees didn't meet. And then over a period of time, well, if we're in agreement, well, we let it go. You know, you can let so much stuff go, it becomes the rule rather than.
well, let me ask you this, Mr. Vice Chair, would you prefer for items and the full board send it to committee? Or would you prefer for
That's
the item?
correct. So that means that every board member know what's going on. If it originate in committee, you have a board meeting maybe to ask the question. But if it originate in the board, and most things can be resolved between the contractor and the ED without coming to the board.
But see, over at council, most council members take issue with it originating before full council. They would rather originate at the committee level. So really, it's just a matter of preference. Yeah, but ultimately, you know, the full board will still have to vote on it, right? So in the end, so it's not like, okay, it originates in committee and then the board just gets surprised. No, board still has to make a decision. And if we're not prepared to vote on something, need more information, okay, we just defer it. So I think it's a matter of preference.
Ms. Baker has come off mute. Is it okay, Dr. Morris, if Ms. Baker speaks up? Okay. Ms.
Yeah,
Baker?
I mean, I think the process that board member, council member Walker described is similar to the way it should work here. We have committees and if the ED receives information that needs to go onto a committee agenda, then the ED would communicate that to the committee chair. Mr. Fergus is correct in that the communication between RapDev should be with the ED. And then if there's something that the ED receives from RapDev that needs to go before a committee or to the board, then the ED would communicate that either to the committee chair or to the board chair to be placed on the agenda. But the committees do a lot of the groundwork so that when issues come before the board can feel assured that the committee has thoroughly vetted those issues and it's properly before the board for the board to take action. So I think things can come before the board in more than one way, but the communication should be between the RapDev, the ED, and then the ED with either the committee chair or the board chair.
Is that helpful? And Dr. Morris, you wanted to?
Yeah, my concern was similar to Mr. Burgess. And I thought we've been operating on that method. If you're gonna send it to the committee, it has to come to the board first. And I certainly, as the chair of the finance committee, don't want to waste my time on things that the board is not gonna even let you approve.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to add something that Ms. Baker said, but that is, you want, but at least the county, we try to make sure that we utilize the committees in a way that the lion's share of the work gets done there. Because otherwise, if everything comes before full council, our council meetings would pretty much become just sizable or large committee meetings. And then I don't think that's probably the most efficient way to use the full council, or perhaps in this instance, even use the full board, right? Because you don't want to have, I guess, these marathon board sessions where we've got these committees and the committees can do the lion's share of the work. And then when it gets before the full board, if we still have questions or what have you, could send something back to committee. Say, I want to make a motion, this item go back to the committee to deliberate more, or you can say you want to defer the vote on it. But if anything, it just allows the full board to actually operate a little more efficiently. And to your point, Mr. Fergus, there will be certain things that the executive director will have to present directly to us as a full board rather than put it before a committee. And even then you may say, well, we need more time to mull over this, or we want this to go to a committee for more deliberations. But I think we can get really good use out of the committees. I think that's where a lot of the lead work can be done as opposed to using the full board, and we end up having these marathon sessions over items that really could be, you can do most of your deliberations at the committee level. Just a thought.
And I will say that the committees on this board really, really do the hard, good work here. So I appreciate that. And just reminding everyone on the board that even if you're not a voting member of the committee, you're always encouraged and welcome to attend if you want to be more caught up before you get to the board meeting. We'll move on from there and go to, it is, I think, our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Andrews.
Hello, everyone. Just a recap, I sent out, well, Leroy would mention, again, we do offer trainings to our board members. I try to send out to you guys all that I see or I get. So again, if you have an interest in any of those, just let me know and I get you registered. As you mentioned too, we're on our fiscal year end audit. So you should be getting papers in the mail through snail mail as well as me emailing them to you. So I'm, an electronic person. I like to get stuff done and eliminate the stamp. So if you want to sign those and send them back, kind of gets them to it faster. Again, if you like snail mail, there should be a self-addressed stamp envelope so you can get them back to her as well. Let's see.
Is there a way that, because I think we don't keep up with who sent it back, right? Is there a way that it could get recirculated to people who need perhaps a reminder?
She does.
Okay.
When it gets down to a point she haven't heard from one, she'll resend it again or say, hey, Rosalind, I did get feedback from these people, and I reach out again and say, hey, can you send it? And I would like, again, she does, I assume when she stopped asking, she's got 100% feedback. So I just ask here now that, if we've been doing 100, I like to keep that 100% feedback so I don't have to be a pain and keep asking. So just respond, send them back. And I think last year, Mr. Green wanted, a copy of everybody's responses. So if that's something he wanted again this year, let me know ahead of time so I can let her be aware that you want to see that copy. So again, we're at our fiscal year end, so you guys may be asked to give a, I know one has to do with ethical, making sure we are not involved with somebody we're paying. So that's the gist of one of the forms you fill out. And if anything beyond that, our report is on page 95. We kind of move in silence, but we move mighty. You see the lights on, water still running, buses on the streets. I mean, we're doing something right in my little department. And so that's the information.
We'd notice if it wasn't working.
Yes.
Dr. Prince is not here. Yes. Hi.
Good afternoon. I will present the board compliance and DBE report for the board for July 26, 2023. Our monthly activities and DBE reports are found on pages 96 through 102 of the board packet. Staff regulatory compliance reports are found on pages 96 through 98. DBE reports are found on pages 99 through 102 of the packet. Pages 99 to 100 is a summary and quick snapshot of all vendors with DBE goals with the comment. Page 99 reflects data as of May 31st, 2023. Approximately $56.5 million has been paid to vendors with DBE goals. Of this amount, DBE received $14.7 million, which is 26%. Information found on pages 101 to 102 is relevant to our contractor, RATP Dev, and this contractor's payments to 2 DBEs. Page 101 reflects data from the start of their contract, July 1, 2020 through May 2023. DBE cumulative goal reflects $11.7 million or approximately 23.8%. Page 102 captures the fiscal year start date of July 1, 2022 for tracking purposes. This ends the July regulatory compliance and DBE update.
Thank you so much. That will bring us to our public oh, sorry, any questions? Mr. Lawson has his hand up.
Yes. Hey, Pam, Miss Baker, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, so I have a question, going back to specifically to DBEs. If you could, when you get a chance, or maybe the staff knows this, I've talked to Dr. Prince about it, briefly, but our relationship with DBEs, after their contract period has ended, from my understanding, we have like an auto renew provision in place that just renews the contract. Is that accurate?
I think with our contracts, most of the contracts will have a provision in there that will allow the contract to be renewed for maybe another 1 year term, but it's never a renewal for the full, like if it was a 5 year contract, it doesn't renew for another 5 years. There may be a clause in there that will allow it to be automatically renewed for a year, but notice would still have to be given by the COMET to the vendor if the COMET chooses to renew the contract. And so some of those, and that could vary a little bit, but that's generally how it would work.
If at all possible, when you have the opportunity, can you check into that yourself or staff? Can you check into that? Because what I'm afraid, that I'm afraid that we're operating on the auto renew policy. And if we are doing that, then we are spinning our wheels and wasting time, right? We had an initiative for reaching out to DBEs and getting new blood interested in partnering with the COMET. But if the vendors that are already set in place are falling into the proverbial auto renew, then the new vendors aren't getting an opportunity to display their talents.
Mr. Lawson, we
Yes.
do have a staff response.
Yes.
Contracts are usually set up with maybe a 3 year or 5 year maximum, but it has an initial term of perhaps 1 year with the option to renew 1 more years if it's a 3 year contract. If the contract is a 5 year, then they'll have maybe 4 automatic renewals of 1 year periods.
Which means that's it. So let me make sure that my math is correct. That's potentially 9 years, yes?
No. I gave you 2 different scenarios. The max on a 5 year contract is 5 years. So the initial term of the contract may be 1 year. Let's go with that scenario. The first year is the initial year. You have a 1 year initial period, and then you have 4 1 year renewals that you have the option to renew or terminate. So the maximum period is 5 years.
Okay. And after that 5th year, what happens?
You re-solicit.
Okay.
And the COMET always has the right to not do that automatic renewal. It's not that it has to happen. If after year 2, they decide that this vendor is not up to par, they can terminate the contract and rebid it then.
Chris, just to add, I think the word we need to focus on is optional. We don't automatically renew them. That's the option for the additional years.
Yes, the terminology is we have the option to automatically renew another year. But we also had, that implies that infers we have the right to terminate for cause or convenience. We don't have to enter into it if there are some issues with that contractor and their performance. But
Okay. Last question or comment here. I would be interested to know, of all of the relationships with DBEs that we have, how many of those options have we exercised past 2 years? So I would want to see if there are 15 DBEs that we have relationships with. Of those 15 DBEs, if we've exercised a 2-year plus option on 13 of those, then that gives me my statistics and my numbers. Can somebody provide me with that at some point?
Okay, do you wanna?
Well,
Okay.
Ms. Herbert.
Mr. Lawson, this is Leroy. On page 101, where Dr. Prince, where she provides the contract period,
Yes.
you need something in addition to that? Because she has a column there for contract period, because we don't operate on auto. One thing we've been able to do, and I think we're probably in a better position than we've ever been as an agency, the last 2 years, believe me, we've spent a lot of our time going through each contract, and we've had to make some changes, sometimes involving legal, to make sure that the contract was direct and to the point. And we're at a position now, as these contracts come up for renewal with the compliance and procurement manager on staff, then that's going to allow us to make sure that we put it out for bid in a timely fashion. And I think that's a position that we've changed over the past 2 years, that I feel like the agency is in a better position now. And I think we have our relationship with all of our vendors also too, I think, have improved. And they know that from our standpoint, we're going to check to see if they're in compliance and they're meeting the scope of work. And we've had to address that with some of our vendors over the past 2 years. But I think we're in a good position now with the staff that we have to make sure that something like auto renew doesn't happen.
Thank you. Mr. Lawson, I hope that helps. Ms. Herbert has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to sometimes the purpose of the ability to have the 5 years with working with DBEs is, 1-year contract is a, 1-year opportunity, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle for the DBE. And so sometimes for them to really have the ability to build their internal capacity, they need to have significant contract for several years in order to really get the full benefit of it. The other part too, it depends on what kind of project they're working on and having continuity with the service provider. So if they're hired on to assist with a 4 or 5 year project, you don't, in a particular area, you wouldn't want to change one of those vendors every single year just for continuity purposes, unless of course they're not performing the way that they need to be performing.
Thank you for that. Anything further on this report update? Okay, thanks everybody. Let me get, back to I think that brings us to Ms. Bynner Reed.
All right, good afternoon, board members, guests, and staff. I will make it brief. My report is
Sorry.
found on pages 103 through 105, and I have highlighted those things which are of significant importance. But I do want to call out and thank Angela Jacobs for leading the Finance and Service Committee meeting. Also, she led our appearance at the Eastover Community Partner event on July 8th. We were requested by the mayor to come down to participate in that event. As far as Soda Cap is concerned, we are entering into planning events with the South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association, again, to expand what we did last year with the rides on Soda Cap through the restaurant districts. And we're also co-branding with Experience Columbia, which is the tourism partner. Let's see. We're almost done developing the marketing plan with Flock and Rally, and I will have that to present at the next board meeting, as well as some exciting news surrounding that on some cost-saving measures that we're looking at there. I want to bring the board's attention to remind you that Comment Chat is on WLTX on Thursdays at 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Our July topic was the pet policy. Our August topic, starting on August 3rd, is the College Pass programs featuring Allen, Benedict, Columbia College, and Midlands Tech. In September, it is back to school with USC Transit. So That's what we have on tap right there. Also, there's a social media highlight, Rehydrate Initiative with RETP Dev. And that's where RETP Dev staff is going out and giving water and fans to people at the bus stops because it's been so hot. And I am working on a press release about that as well. So you'll see that coming up. As far as additional training and professional development, Angela Jacobs participated in SCDOT board training and also training as a United Way campaign director at their workshop. And want to commendate her. And that is the end of my report.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for your work. That will bring us to item, what is this? We have already completed our executive session. So I guess that will bring us to item, should be 12, 11, 12, adjournment. Is there a motion? All right, all in favor? All right, any opposed? Okay. Great. Everybody have a good rest of your summer. We'll see you next month.